Madam Chancellor, Carleton graduates and guests, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce our honorary doctoral recipient, Frank Graves. As the founder and president of EKOS Research Associates, Inc., Graves is one of the country's leading applied social researchers, directing some of the largest and most challenging social research assignments conducted in Canada. For more than 3 decades, his firm has held a reputation for creative and rigorous research in the areas of public policy, social policy, and program evaluation, and as a leader in innovative survey techniques and methodologies. His analysis and advice has been sought by senior decision makers in both the private and public sectors, including CEOs of the top 100 Canadian companies, the Prime Minister's Office, Federal Cabinet, the Clerk of the Privy Council, Federal Deputy Ministers, the United States Ambassador to Canada, as well as the Canadian Ambassador to the United States. Graves has been published widely and is a frequent commentator in Canadian and American media. He has directed numerous public opinion research projects on behalf of the CBC, Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, and La Presse. He is a Carleton alumnus, having completed an honors degree in social anthropology and an MA in sociology. He serves on the advisory board of Carleton Sprott School of Business and is an adjunct research professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. He has lectured at the Rotman School of Business, the Harvard Kennedy School, the University of Ottawa, and the Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs. Graves is a founding board member and fellow of the Canadian Research Insights Council, a fellow of the Canadian Global Affairs Institute, and an honorary fellow with the School of Public Policy at the University of Calgary. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of a distinguished career in public opinion and policy research and outstanding contributions to research-based policymaking, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Frank Graves.
With pleasure. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon the recommendation of the University Senate, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Wow. First, let me express my deep gratitude for being honored by my alma mater. In the next 5 minutes, I'll try to distill some of the key insights I've drawn from research over the past 50 years. This gives me roughly a minute for each decade, so I'm going to talk pretty quickly. In looking at the constellation of trends that I've been studying, I must note that I've never seen the country in such a dark and divided state. Whether I look at confidence in national direction, outlook on the future, fears of the external world, or even basic attachment to country and public institutions, I am recording unprecedented low scores on key barometers of social cohesion. If anything, these nadirs are even lower amongst younger Canada. And notably, the incidence of those who see a university education as a sound investment has plummeted from 85% at the beginning of this century to 40% in a recent survey I did a month ago. Lower still amongst young men. So, we live in an era which sees both the crisis of trust and truth. A growing number believe that climate change is a hoax. Forest fires are a product of activist arsonists. Nearly a third believe that governments have intentionally concealed the real numbers of deaths from vaccines. The web of design deceit is broadening and deepening, and we are losing this contest for the future. Disinformation is polarizing our society in ways we have never seen. At best, we can take some comfort in knowing that these forces are by no means unique to Canada, but gripping most of the advanced Western democracies. Now, the purpose of these observations is not to depress, but to provide a call for action. If we are experiencing an epistemic and trust crisis, what better stalwart against these corrosive forces than the university? A wonderful quote, apocryphally attributed to Mark Twain, notes that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. A century ago, the world was emerging from a great war in Europe. A global pandemic and a Gilded Age was on the verge of collapsing due to hyper-concentration of wealth at the top. A lot of those similar forces are in place today. Interestingly, a centrist populist movement evolved in America led by the Roosevelts, which produced a New Deal, which saw the rise of middle class and shared prosperity. However, similar threats produced a very different populist response in Europe, which saw in the form of authoritarian populism and fascism and all of the ensuing horrors which went along with that. Societies and democracies need to choose wisely for our next 50 years. And despite a period of epistemic crisis, I believe that the universities and their graduates are preconditioned for negotiating a healthy path out of these dark forces. Patrick Moynihan's old saw that we can have our own opinions, but we can't have our facts has sadly become a quaint anachronism. Passively charting these forces is not enough. I remain optimistic, but vigilant, and I urge those going forward in their chosen careers and professions today to be mindful of the depth of the historical challenges that we face and to use this as a spur to excellence and influence. Speaking truth to power should be our lodestar, and we should heed the divergent paths that Europe and America took a century ago, and we need to choose wisely because the consequences of our choices will be profound. Thank you very much.